Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Oh hey! Hello there and welcome to Travels with Geordie. If this is your first visit, my name is Peter Knowles and I live on a pair of classic wooden motor cruisers here in Victoria, British Columbia, along with my lovely girlfriend and the loving memory of my pup Geordie, all the while fixing up both boats for some pretty ambitious cruising. If that's the sort of thing you might find interesting, please consider sticking around and subscribing. And yes, we're still in the forward head. And here we go, the final week in the forward head, and wow, I am excited to get to it. We're going to finish up all these soffit areas up in here, get the pin lighting in here, which is what I've opted for, get the shelf in on here, all the rest of the trim, tidy up these little vents up here, and finally return the mahogany frame around here, which yes indeed does have lighting in it. Okay, let's jump to it. So the first step is actually a bit tough. Not tough physically, but tough emotionally, in that I have to take these back off again because they really were just dry fits. And it, you know, you think it looks beautiful and I'll take this off and there'll be no stain up, no oil up underneath them, and I don't know, it's just one of those things that's kind of hard to do. Now let's hope I can do this without it springing out on me too violently. I think it should have settled in a little bit over the weekend. There we go. Okay, so next I've determined that the simplest thing to do here is actually just to fill these in as I've done here. Because I thought maybe I was going to be able to enclose that a different way, but so that's very, very simple. Just need a little bit more of the mahogany and that'll be dealt with. Okay, I think it made sense to pre-oil these. Does mean they're a little messy to hang on to while I'm doing this, but that's tolerable. And back to my measurement block. Oh, this is an awkward place to work. And right on the line here. I switched over to doing all the structural framing on the boat out of yellow cedar, which this is. It's just such a lovely wood to work with. In many ways, one of the most extraordinary things about it is how well it nails. In other words, it just doesn't split. Because it's a soft, waxy wood, it can take nails in places where, you know, lesser woods or a hardwood would have trouble with it. Okay, now before I reattach this, well, there's a bunch of things I do because it's not going to be a permanent attachment because I still have to drill it for the pin pots, small puck lights. I'm going to try and use it as a template on the side behind you, because wouldn't it be fantastic if it was exactly the same size and then I could just use this as a template to cut out a new one. Okay, so let's see how this fits on this side. Okay, so I have a precariously short supply of this wood. So in other words, this is the last of it, so there's no messing up. Because I'm making a mirror image, as long as I have good side up and I'm tracing it back side up, I'm making a mirror image. Okie dokie dokie doo. Then I think this is the final fit up, and it fits. There we go. Very nicely, very nicely. Okay, I'm just going to tack this in place with one pin right there. Now the trick, as I mentioned, I'm going to go with the tiny little puck lights, is to locate them. I want them centered in these beam bays, and that's a bit tricky, but let me think about this for a sec. Okay, I've decided to not let this be too tricky. I'm simply going to first find the center between these two bays, 5 and a hair, and just make a little dot of a mark right on the leading edge. Come on, Peter, you can do this. Okay, now I'll put some tape on here at roughly the angle I believe I should be going at. And then use a straight edge that I can project back into the bay here to let me see exactly where that line should be. So somewhere on that line. The thing about doing things by eye is that they're only ever going to look wrong by eye. So if they look right while you're doing it, they'll look right forevermore. There we go. That is as far as I can go today on the soffits until I get the lights. Come on now. Come on now. There we go. Whew. All right, I had to drill for these pucks because I could not chase this extra wire down here, and I had to get it done now. Okay, that made it a lot easier to do it. Lots of wires for a very small room. Okay, now I don't want to advance on this anymore, but I do need to get going on this little shelf that's going to go on here. Now this seems very simple, but again, it's a lot of different angles. Let's jump in. I'm not going to talk about how hard it was to get this out of the bottom of that pile, but I can say bad words were said. Now I can begin the templating process by seeing how well the piece that I made for up here fits down here, because this would certainly be a good start to the whole process of templating. All right, so I can see it needs to be shorter than this, but it's probably not too far off. Okay, I don't mind admitting it's been a few trims to make it happen, but we are very close to at least getting it in this plane. Now this is complicated because it's also going downhill towards the stern, so these miters are going to be a compound miter because they're also going to be tipped out a little bit. Oh my gosh, to get this perfect is going to be stressful. Okay, now I have to deal with this curve at the back. Oh yes. Here we go. Oh boy. Pretty darn good. Okay, so let's do the front edge. Okay, I'm very happy with that. Now for the tough one. Oh boy. Set the blade over 45 degrees. Let's try that. Fun. Oh for crying out loud. And there we go. Oh, jeepers. Okay, last but not least, this is the miter that I have to cut the ends to sit against the bulkhead because, of course, that stringer is going uphill as it goes forward. That I'm going to say about there. So, this is the aft end, and it's going out because it's going uphill. Yep. Beauty. Okay, folks, this is darn close. This miter is good. This miter is good. Likewise, almost perfect down here. I have to make a small adjustment, and I have to take a little bit out of the back down here. It's late. I don't want to mess this up. I'm going to pick this up in the morning. My gosh, there's a lot of work in this piece of wood. See you tomorrow. And good morning. Well, I am feeling refreshed and much better suited to finishing this up without making a mess of it. Oh my gosh, there's a lot of equity in this piece of wood. All right, we left off last night with it pretty close at the ends. I do need to sand a little bit off the back corners here. Now I say sand because I think dealing with this big monster bevel on here, I do not want to put this back on a saw. I think I don't need to take much off, so I've decided to put it on the stationary belt sander. Let's have a look at that. Okay, I'm looking at something like about that. All right, with a reasonable amount of messing about, this is now a very, very nice fit all the way along. I'm very, very happy. But some of you will have been noticing another problem emerging, which I knew was coming. Yes, indeed. Originally, I had planned to put a great big dado or rabbit in the bottom of this so that it could sit over this lip here. But I think instead what I'll do, I will reduce the height of this in some savage way. The problem is I have to be careful I don't come so low that that gets exposed. I just need to get underneath the bronze because after all I can trim the bottom of the wood, the mahogany ring that's going to sit on the shelf. So many intersecting pieces. So I'm going to take this edge down a little to ease this problem, and I'm going to try and do it with the least savage method I can think of, and that to me is my little low angle block plane. Keeping this little piece of wood handy to make sure that I do not drop below that notch. Okay. Slow and steady, Peter. Slow and steady. It is satisfying. Now, of course, I can't get to the ends. That's chisel work. Okay, well I'm getting down to the point where the stringer would now be in the way, and we'll see if this will fit underneath it. just. I have maybe an 1/8 of an inch before I crawl under that, and this is fitting so nicely right now. I think I'm just going to have to cope with this. There's another problem that you may have noticed while I was building these rings. The rings are flat, the back of the porthole is flat, but the inside of the boat is not. So I do have to scoop out some material out of the middle of the backs of the rings to fit flat against the ceilings here. And that means the whole porthole goes further in, therefore this bronze gets closer to this. This is painful. Of course, the stringer is curved. That's good news because that gap now can give me more clearance to the porthole. Great. but it does mean I have to rescribe the back, because as it gets lower, it gets, I think you know what I'm talking about. Okay. I've built some pretty curvy stuff in my lifetime. Okay, that now fits very nicely in there, and it's curved down. Oh yeah, okay. This is going to be okay. Let's put some pretty front edge on this, shall we? You can probably see the problem I'm having. I can't put the back edge of this on anything or I will damage it. Getting there. It's getting there. Okay, what can we do about a screw spacing? Ooh, 1 foot. Works out quite nicely. Roughly there, roughly there, roughly there, and roughly there. And I've measured, the screws are going into the stringer, so 2 inches from the back edge is where they'll land. Now, I'm going to do another little test, and it seems a bit obscure, but it's to help me make sure that this is approaching level, because even though we all think we have this idea of level in our head, sometimes, well, anyway. So I'm projecting this piece of mahogany from the framing of the chain locker door, and I'm gonna say, now that I can see it in here, that is pretty darn close. So I'm feeling pretty good about that. Now I know for all you actual mariners out there, you're going, well, Peter, this is a boat. What good is a shelf without some sort of fiddles on it? In other words, some sort of fence on the edge to keep all the things I put on this shelf from falling off. One thing at a time. I'll think of something clever and I'll put it on later. No, I have no idea where my screw gun is. I just don't know. Okay. If you're new to the show, I don't glue my interior bungs in at all. And normally I mark them with the grain so that it's a little easier to see, but okay, there's no getting around it. I am going to have to deal with this because it's one of those things. It's going to haunt me. Oh, it's windy out there until I do. So you can see this no longer fits. To tell you the truth, it's not that bad. I'm just going to have to take a little flat out of the bottom of it. Plus, as I mentioned, a bit of a scoop out of the back of it, which is going to make the flat. Yeah, I think you know where I'm going with that. So I'm just going to get started with some rough trimming, and we'll see where we go from there. We'll start with determining this angle, at least roughly. Definitely eye protection mode here, and let's make sure we cut this in the right direction. And I'm going to cut it along one of the segments so that it's nice and symmetrical. Something like that, and oh, I don't even know yet. About there. Okay. Okay, and as for hollowing out the back, I'm going to leave it at that angle, there's no harm, and we're just going to take successive cuts out of just a little bit, about that much to get started, out along this axis. So as long as I know I've got this here, I'm good. Well, I knew that would happen, but it's a small price to pay. Blade's on its last legs anyway. Okay. Okay, then let's see how that fits. It seems like it's going to be pretty good. Try the porthole back in. I think that looks absolutely lovely. And oh, that's good enough for me. Yes, sir. Whew. Oh my gosh. Well, okay then, let's have this whole fun party again. Over here. All right then. And here we go again. Okay, it's gotta be significantly shorter. Angles are looking good. Okay. So what do we got here? Another pretty complex shaped piece of wood. And here we go. This is what I like to do. Mark my plugs in advance. Make sure that that grain lines up nicely. Oh, love it. Oh, hey, if you're up in this part of the world, be sure to come and say hi at the Vancouver International Boat Show, which is coming up January 29th through February 2nd in Vancouver. We're going to be there. Yes, Andrea and I will be there at the creator booth that they've set up there for all your favorite YouTubers to meet and greet all you wonderful people. I mean, all kinds of great shows are going to be there. Finding Simon, good friend of mine, Sailor Barry and Haley will be there. I'm not quite sure what the schedule is going to be yet, and I'll get that to you as soon as I can. But if you're in this neck of the woods and you like boats, and I know you do, make sure you don't miss the Vancouver International Boat Show and come say hi. I just can't resist. Gotta get a little of this on here. I love it. I love it. I love it. Ooh, and if you love it, please consider sticking around and subscribing. We'd love to have you. And if you love it, please consider giving it a big thumbs up or a share to that friend of yours that may also love it. And as always, if you love it as much as I hope you do, please consider supporting the show and becoming a crew member through Patreon or PayPal. The links are down below. Thanks ever so much. Oh yeah. Okay, one of the things I really want to get to is put these big support blocks back on here. If you've been watching when I took this apart, they've been off for weeks and means my mooring lines are on the windlass switches. Not bad, but not ideal, and we have a big blow coming. So I want to get these back on so I can get the big bolts back on and put the mooring lines back on the Samson post up there. So I have to re-drill through all this stuff and oh no. Oh dear. Okay, well, some of you may remember when I did all this. I remember just in time to put these extra support pieces of yellow cedar in here as I was putting all this V-joint on so that there would be support and it wouldn't crush through here. But I neglected to look on the other side because there's another one here. I need support blocks in here. Okay, so the plan is to twist a set of pieces into place here, and hopefully, I'm gonna need some more persuasion. Hopefully this is going to achieve what I'm looking for here. One. Well, that's enough, and that went way better than it might have. Okay, so let's go up on the foredeck and re-drill those through. I've priced bronze bolts for these. Oh my gosh. Canadian, it'd be almost $50 a piece. Oh boy. Alright, so I pre-oiled these for simplicity. I think these are on a bit of an angle, therefore I'm going to have to do something a little bit creative. Okay, well, let's go on now. This would definitely look very pretty with bronze acorn nuts, would they not? Okay. Oh yeah! Oh my gosh! I love it! I love it! I love it! I love it! Well, folks, you've already noticed what I've been dreading. Yes, the block here is not centered, and that's because my new bowsprit is not centered. I'll fix it the next time I work on the foredeck, and everything will be straightened out and everything will be okay, but in the meantime this is offset and it's really bothering me. Anyway, if you want to see the episode where I put that bowsprit in, it wasn't that long ago, but for new viewers you might enjoy it, and there's a link to it right here. In the meantime, we'll see you next week.